In the last video, I briefly talked about money and the evolution of it. In this video, we are going to be moving beyond the scope of just commerce and capitalism and historical economics, but also looking into the future. What comes beyond capitalism? What can we do to build a system that is distinctively separate or distinctively developed away from the logic of accumulation, exploitation, and circulation? Well, the answer that many in the past have proposed is something like a labor voucher system. And so in this video, this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about labor vouchers beyond monetary economics, post-monetary economics, and generally how to build societies that can solve the contradictions of capitalism and capitalist accumulation. The debate over money has haunted every stage of human society. From the emergence of coins in ancient Lydia to the dominance of credit cards and digital currencies today, money appears eternal, inevitable, and even indispensable. Yet this illusion masks its historical character. Money is not simply a tool for convenience nor a neutral medium of exchange, it is a social relation. And as Karl Marx demonstrated, under capitalism, money becomes the universal form of domination. When we raise the question of a world beyond capitalism, we must also ask, what comes after money? One proposed answer, developed by Marx and later revived by socialist thinkers, is the concept of labor vouchers, a transitional system of distribution that breaks the chains of circulation, accumulation, and exploitation. To understand why the labor vouchers matter, we must first examine how money developed, what functions it serves, and why it perpetuates class inequality. Only then can we see how labor vouchers, far from reinventing money, actually point towards its abolition. The Wealth of Nations, written by Adam Smith in 1776, Smith traced the origins of money to the expansion of barter. As societies historically grew, direct exchange of goods became inconvenient. How many chickens equaled one cow? How many doors would equal one carpet? Etc. Things like this, right? As you started to compare different quantities of commodities, it became inconvenient to just think about direct exchange. And so money came as a medium of this exchange. Money emerged as a universal equivalent, a commodity like gold or silver that could measure all others. David Ricardo advanced this classical view in Principles of Political Economy in 1817, grounding value in labor but recognizing money as the measure of value. It facilitates the trade. But even in antiquity, money was not neutral. Coinage arose alongside the state, taxation, and armies. Money allowed rulers to extract surplus from peasants and pay soldiers to enforce order. From the start, money was embedded in class power. By the 16th century, mercantile states sought to accumulate gold and silver as sources of power. Money became a weapon in geopolitical competition. Under the industrial capitalism, money shifted again. No longer merely a store of value, it becomes capital in motion, investing in production and expanding itself. In the 20th and 21st centuries, money has become increasingly abstract. We think of credits, stocks, derivatives, and cryptocurrencies, yet its essence remains the same, a circulating medium that allows accumulation, speculation, and exploitation. As Marx warned in Capital, money is the universal commodity that transforms all things, including human labor, into objects for sales. It circulates in uh, endless C to MC to M prime circuit. Money exchanged for commodities only to return as greater, more money. Marx shattered the classical view of Smith and Ricardo by uncovering the secrets of surplus value. In capitalism, workers sell their labor power as a commodity. The value of wages is less than the value of what their labor produces. The capitalist pockets the difference. Money thus conceals exploitation. It appears as a fair exchange, but in reality it is theft disguised in circulation. As William Z. Foster, the American communist leader, emphasized this in his writings on the labor movement, Foster For Foster, money wages were not simply compensation, but rather they were mechanisms by which the capitalists extracted surplus while keeping workers tied to dependency. The strike, the union, and class struggle all emerged from this unequal relation mediated by money. Paul Cockshott, more contemporarily and towards a new socialism, updates Marx's critique of the digital age. He shows how money today is not necessary for coordinating production. Instead, computational systems can calculate inputs and outputs directly in terms of labor time, bypassing the market and all its market forces. Yet, he also still argues we still need a transitional mechanism to distribute goods and fairly while scarcity still exists. This is where the essence of labor vouchers actually come in. In the Critique of the Gotha program, Marx outlined the labor vouchers as a mechanism for lower phase socialism. At this stage, scarcity still exists, so societies must carefully balance what individuals contribute with what they actually receive. Unlike money, however, labor vouchers are designed to eliminate exchange as we know it, while still ensuring fairness. To see how, let's go ahead and break down four defining properties in practice. Money circulates endlessly. I sell you a good, you pass the money to another, they spend it again, and so on. This is what allows accumulation, and this is what allows money to never be extinguished. Labor vouchers, by contrast, are a one-time receipt. Once you've worked 5 hours and spend your 5 hour voucher on goods, it disappears. Hochschott explains this in the fundamental design principle. Vouchers act like a ration in a canteen system. You hand over your token, you eat your meal, and the token is canceled. There is no secondary life to it. This means vouchers cannot circulate in a market. They cannot fuel buying, selling, or speculation. They are born and destroyed in the same act of labor and consumption. By this very essence, what we see here is non-circulatory. One of the biggest dangers of any distribution system is the possibility of recreating wage labor, where someone with resources hires another to work for them. Money allows this. You can pay a worker with cash and they transfer the value to you. Labor vouchers actually block this completely. They are tied to the individual who performed the labor. Cockshott emphasizes that in the modern system, in the modern day, vouchers could be digital and locked to workers' ID, just like how, for example, health benefits and Social Security are today. You cannot sell them, you cannot gift them, and you cannot hire someone else with them. The effect is profound. It prevents secondary labor markets from arising and ensures that labor cannot once again be commodified. This is non-transferable. Hoarding is the seed of inequality. Historically, from the first coin hoards of the aristocrats to the modern billionaires' portfolios, the accumulation of money created class domination. The economic calculation problem, the ECP, was always that once you allow tokens to circulate, they inevitably begin to act as commodities themselves. Labor vouchers solve this by design. They expire after a set period or vanish once redeemed. There is no advantage to saving them because they cannot grow, they cannot be lent, and they cannot be converted into capital. Cockshott also suggests a digital voucher system would automate this. Once spent, the record is erased, and unused vouchers dissolve after a short cycle. In this way, society ensures that no shadow accumulation emerges and no new bourgeoisie can arise. Hoarding has always been the seed of inequality. And to understand this, we can also look to the exploitation factor. From the first coins hoarded by the ancient aristocrats, labor vouchers were structured to prevent this. They expire after a set period or vanish immediately once redeemed. This directly inserts with the economic calculation problem raised by Ludwig von Mises in the 1920s. Uh, w- Mises argued that without prices formed in markets, socialism would lack the information necessary to allocate resources rationally. In this view, money was indispensable because it condenses social labor into comparable units. Without it, he claimed chaos and inefficiencies would reign. But here, Paul Cockshott also provides a decisive answer. In Towards a New Socialism, he demonstrates the modern computational systems make it possible to perform the various calculations that Mises declared impossible. Input-output matrices can track the labor content of goods across industries, while computers can process millions of calculations per second, something unthinkable in Mises' time. Labor vouchers then do not need to act as a circulating money price. They simply record each worker's contribution in labor time while planning the system while the planning system allocates production according to those same units. In this way, labor vouchers fulfill their non-accumulative purposes while also disproving the ECP. They prevent the hoarding by expiring. They solve the problems of calculation by rooting value directly in labor time, with computational planning ensuring that the economy is both efficient and transparent. Put together, these properties mean that labor vouchers succeed where past attempts at non-monetary tokens failed. The ECP showed that whatever tokens circulate freely, they take on the qualities of money. They become tradable commodities subject to speculation and hoarding. But labor vouchers, if implemented, as Marx and Cockshott propose, are structurally incapable of circulation. They extinguish themselves. They cannot and they are not a new form of money, but the end of money's logic altogether. In this sense, labor vouchers are not just a clever or a reform, they are a designed rupture. They break within the 5,000-year history of money as circulation, accumulation, and domination. They embody a different principle that labor itself, measured transparently, can be the metric of distribution without creating new hierarchies. At first glance, labor vouchers may look like money. Both are tokens that let people claim goods, but their internal logic is completely different. Money exists only to circulate. Its power lies in the endless exchange. From ancient coins to digital credit, money is always seeking more of itself. It accumulates, concentrates, and reproduces inequality. Labor vouchers are designed to do the opposite. They do not circulate, they cannot accumulate, and they vanish once used. They are a direct claim on labor already performed, not a universal medium of exchange. Where money is capital in motion, labor vouchers are a receipt of labor extinguished, and in that sense, they are not a new kind of money at all, but the deliberate abolition of money's function. The real test of labor vouchers is not only in theory, but in practice. How they can be implemented in a way that preserves their four properties. Here again, the modern planning proposals like those advanced by Paul Cockshott show that vouchers can work. Implementation begins with measurement. Every worker contributes his record in labor time adjusted for intensity and skill of their work. When a worker spends these hours, the vouchers are canceled instantly, ensuring they never circulate. This fulfills the non-circulatory character. A receipt issued, consumed, and extinguished is in the same motion. Because vouchers are tied to the individual who performed the labor, they cannot be sold or traded. In a digital system, they would be bound to a worker's ID and vanish upon the use. Secures the non-transferability and prevents wage labor from reappearing under a new disguise. The non-accumulative nature is achieved through design. Vouchers expire after a short period, making hoarding impossible. Workers cannot stack up claims to dominate others. They can only use what they have earned within a given cycle. This closes the door on the ancient problem of wealth building through stockpiling tokens. Finally, the entire system rests on the principle of non-exploitation. Unlike wages, which conceal the siphoning of surplus by capitalists, vouchers are pegged differently by directly being tied to the socially necessary labor time. What you contribute is what you draw back. The disappearance of profit as a hidden relation ensures that no one extracts value from another's work. In this way, implementation itself reinforces the logic of labor vouchers. Each step, recording labor, binding vouchers to individuals, expiring them after use, and tying them to real contribution, ensures that they remain what they were designed to be, a bridge away from money and a barrier against its return. Labor vouchers are not a utopia, nor the final stage. They are, but yet, a bridge. They dismantle money's power without chaos, they prevent exploitation without markets, and they pave the way to true communism, where the labor is no longer measured because the abundance makes calculation unnecessary. As Marx envisioned and Cockshott demonstrates, labor vouchers break the very cycle of circulation and accumulation, and they are nothing but a tool of liberation and not domination. In the end, the point is simple. Money has always been the language of exploitation. Labor vouchers labor vouchers mark the beginning of a new language, one that speaks in hours of life, not profits. And beyond them lies the silence of money itself, replaced by a society where human need and not exchange governs production. So, to understand labor vouchers a little bit more, it is also important that we move beyond just this contemporary idea, this kind of limiting idea that modern bourgeois economists, liberal economics, and the business school have constantly spouted, which is the very fact that systems beyond capitalism absolutely are possible, they are materially applicable, and they have been seen to create far greater successes in shorter amounts of time. So, the true matter of abolishing exploitation and moving beyond money, if we really want to end the bourgeois class, if we really want to abolish these class struggles and get rid of money from the equation of human need and human subsistence, then we need to actually think logically. We need to think in the context of labor and the contribution towards society. As long as we continue to confine our thoughts, our mentalities to the long spouted bourgeois subject theory of value and the long proposed abstractions of liberal economists and liberal philosophers, we will always be constrained to the very exploitative and accumulative factors that we criticize on a daily basis. Yes, this is a video that is dedicated to the ideals of proposing Marxist developments, Marxian projects, and building a truly stable and future system that can work where historical systems and historical projects failed. This system proposed by Paul Cockshott that was originally coming from Marx is setting out to end the failures of the 20th century once and for all. Any true Marxist, any true critic of capitalism will acknowledge that historical attempts to move beyond capitalism did absolutely fail. They reproduced the very logic of capitalism that they set out to destroy. The corrupted bureaucracy of the Soviet Union led to inefficiencies and stagnations later on throughout its life. China went through massive market reforms and today reproduces the very imperialist logic that it is a counter imperialist hegemony too. The Belt and Road Initiative, although it brings about rapid advancements in technology and production, and it does allow for the sovereignty of third world and underdeveloped countries away from Western capital and Western money, it all it does is recreate these banking aspects that we are criticizing. It recreates the very finance capital, the very banking capital that moves beyond borders. This is the acceleration of capital in action. And the only way to move beyond this is again by establishing these systems that end exploitation, end speculation, end accumulation and circulation. The only way that we can do this today in the modern context is to understand the history of what we have been fighting for and actually build it in the modern day. Anything else, anything less, is nothing but revision, is nothing but opportunism, and it is going to fail to the same criticisms and the same obligations in which the 20th century failed to achieve. Anyways, I do hope that this video has given you guys a massive insight to actually understanding labor vouchers. It has been something that recently I have been coming into a lot of conversation with multiple people, especially people of the libertarian hemisphere and libertarian types, where if we truly want to understand capitalism, capitalism isn't just when markets. It's something greater than that. It is a class structure that is dominated by certain social relations and certain social aspects. It is a sociological and socioeconomic and specifically a constructed, constructed system that has been built on the backs of the transformation of production and society. So, as long as we understand the history of capitalism and its current forms today, we can actively build something to move beyond it and to fix the very problems of monopoly, of empire, of extraction, of exploitation, of mass murder and death, right? So, this is what the goal is. But, anyways, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for listening in. That is all that I really have left to say for this video. Um, but yes, thank you. Next video, I have a couple of ideas in mind. I am going to start talking about the housing crisis in America and just a couple of other topics revolving around massive corporations such as Vanguard, BlackRock, and different institutions and pharmaceuticals like the Rockefellers. So all of that is going to be covered in different videos, but just to understand labor vouchers and Paul Cockshot's understanding of this, go look into Towards a New Socialism, where cybernetics and technology are being seen as implementations of this new system. All other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.